The importance of documentation is often overlooked, especially in small business. It may not be particularly exciting, but in this video I'll go over how I use documentation to increase efficiency, successful outcomes, and why it's so valuable.
Where is your documentation?
To achieve our goals of efficiency and success, we need a system. Having a system is a common theme in popular business books, and it is true here as well. So having a template is the first step. The main things I create official documents for are project plans, quotations and RFQs, manufacturing specs including drawings, renders and links to online 3D models, SOPs for staff and visitor induction, and ongoing training and development. Alright, with any shared cloud-based documentation, what I like to do is have a link in the document that is the share link. So this one's uneditable, that's okay. And now we'll go down to the bottom here. I've got link for sharing the document, create share link, add here. So we'll add that there. Actually, I'll do it as an actual link. So we'll go insert link, and the display text and the actual link can be the same. And there you go. So now that if you want to share the document at any point in time, you can just copy that link and share that to anyone that needs to view the document. Okay, so from there we've got the cover page. If this is for a third-party client, etc., you want to make sure they've got the client name prevalent on the cover page. You've got the table of contents here. That'll vary from project to project, but most importantly, you want to have a mission statement that's clearly defining what the goal is for the project. And under the project objective is where I've got that mission statement. It's a bit different with a project plan. If you're developing a product, that'll be slightly different than if you have a mission statement for a business or a company. But yeah, it's essentially giving everyone a clear guideline of what we're trying to achieve. And then these parts here will vary, but then you should have a revision table. And for this example, the way I like to do it is to have the initial draft being 0.9, and I kind of use that for most of my documentation, including quotes. If they're like a half-finished quote, could be a proposal or something, I use 0.9. And then alpha testing, that's like early development stage. Internal testing is 1.0, beta testing 2.0, scaled production 3.0. If you want more information about version numbering, search for version nomenclature online, and you'll find a lot of information there. This is the quote template that I've been using over the last year or so, and I found it's quite effective. It's a little bit more information than you would normally have in as a response to a request for quote, or just as a verbal conversation. You could use this as a response to that. You've got the request for quote details, so obviously you want to outline what exactly the customer's asking for. Information gathered so far, so maybe you've done a little bit of research into what options are available and have some sort of a proposal in there, maybe some CAD renders, etc. Proposed pricing, obviously you need that in a quote. Timeline and summary gives the customer an idea of what to expect with the lead time. Something else to consider if you're doing this level of documentation is a minimum charge policy. If you're stepping up your game from a hobbyist to a CAD and 3D printing service provider, the quote should reflect the resources required for this value-add professionalism. Documentation for manufacturing is a little different. A high level of competency can be assumed for reputable third-party manufacturers, although adding some documentation for context can be very beneficial and help have a successful outcome. So you can see in this example here, I've added a QR code to this 2D drawing. So quite often maybe all you'd give a manufacturer is a step file and a 2D drawing, and then they'll make the part based on that. For this example, you can see here I've got for manufacturing drawing links to CAD file and renders. Follow the link below or scan the QR code, and then I've got a link there, and the QR code. So let's have a look at how I've made this little QR code document and the manufacturing documentation. Okay, so this manufacturing documentation template is, I'd say, mid-range level documentation. It's probably over the top for a lot of small businesses, and this is definitely not enough for some large companies that are doing third-party manufacturing, etc. Specifically anything defense or medical. This is just is not enough. There's ISO standards and things that need to come into it that this video doesn't cover any of that. But I think from my experience, there's a lot of small businesses where they don't have this level of documentation, and it takes a little bit longer, but I believe it is worth it in the long run, especially once you get a system going with a template and everything. But anyway, here's the template that I've got for this one. You can see I've got my logo here, and then there's a little trick from How to Win Friends and Influence People. Always try and use their name in the conversation or whatever, so you can add the customer logo if you feel confident that won't that won't feel weird for them if you have their logo on the document as well, showing that it's for them. They'll see their logo, that'll make them feel good when they see it. And then from here we've got a table of contents, introduction. I won't go into too much detail here, but the main points. So I've got a note for the CAD programmer, the requirements, that's obvious. Other notes, something to do with anodizing, etc. Gallery, so you might have some renders in here. So if someone is at the machine, they're about to make the part, this will give them an idea of how they might set it up, differently, or what features are more critical and surface finishes will be visible or not visible, and how they can have a successful outcome to then you'll just receive the part from them, and everything will be successful and okay, and keep working on with them. So obviously this is just a image that I had. I just thought I'd throw that in. That's obviously completely useless for this context, but files, this is the main point we're going to get to. So files, you want to have a link for all these. These should all be links. So you'll have a drawing, which is what I just showed you before. The step file, so you'll have a link to the step file. DXF for engraving, if there's any engraving, you have probably have a separate file for the DXF file. If that was going to be laser engraved afterwards, they wouldn't try and do that off the model. It'd be better to give them a DXF. And then for this one, I've got engraving feature dimensions, so that shows exactly where the engraving would go on the part. But yeah, as I said, this is just text here, but that should all be links to the files that would be in a shared directory. You might use a service like GitHub, which is actually owned by Microsoft now anyway, or you could use Microsoft Live or Dropbox. Obviously, there's plenty of services to share files with, but in any case, I've used Microsoft Live. And then down here again, we've got a share link for this file. So if anyone wants to share a link of the file, then it's already there, ready to go. They don't have to make it again. And there's a nice tidy little format. What makes this the most powerful, I believe, in my opinion, is normally you'll have a machine, a CNC machine or whatever machine. It will not be linked to the internet. They may not have a computer with internet access near that machine, but having the QR code on that paper drawing, that they'll probably take the paper drawing to the machine when they're making the part. If they have any doubt at all about when they're making the part, when they're making it, just before they make it, they can scan that QR code, just have a quick look, refresh their memory about what they're doing, and it just helps the third-party supplier have a successful outcome that then in turn helps you achieve success, or helps your client achieve success. And I've just found that works well for me. We get this link, the share link here, and we'll go back to the QR code generator and paste that in there. We get our QR code, download that, and then in Fusion 360 we'll paste the QR code in there just like that, and then I've pasted the link in here with this little bit of text. This may be the least exciting but most valuable part of this video, as creating a system for induction and ongoing training of staff, visitors and contractors allows the CEO, manager or owner to focus on developing and leading the business so they can work on it rather than working in it. Adding a QR code to the SOP allows people to scan it. That'll take them to a page where they can choose what language they would like to view the document in. You can have embedded videos, and you can also have a comprehension after the video, and that's something we're going to have a look at. An example, I've used Asana to create a form, and I'll show you how I've done that. Okay, for this example I've used Asana to create a form, and we've got the project here, example form SOP. If I go over to the forms tab, you can see I've created this example form. It's got a link to a YouTube video where I made that a while ago for demonstrating the QR code link in YouTube, and email address. Then we've got an answer for comprehension. You can add as many of these as you want. They can all have the same answers or they can all have different answers. And then a photo of name badge or ID. So if you scan this with a mobile smartphone device, you can take a photo and upload that. So if we copy the link, something strange happens here. It actually misses out on one of the forward slashes, but if we put it into a web page here, that should fix that up. Yes, it has. And we get to see what I've done there. So now I can copy that, go back to QR code generator, click URL, paste that in there, and that will create our QR code that'll link to that form. All I have to do now is download that. That'll take a few seconds. Then once that's finished, we'll go over to our SOP. So I've got a template here. It's very unspecific, and in this you paste the QR code in there, and then people can scan that. So just a little extra note here in the header and footer, Make Tech Products Limited, example SOP revision number 0.9, because it's like a template draft. Then down the bottom in the footer I have for induction and policy comprehension renewal. Maybe that sounds a bit, human resources, managerial, whatever, but you've got to say what it's for and be specific, I guess. So that's the reason I've set it like that. And should be completed every 6 months. The reason I put every 6 months there, normally you'd have a reinduction every 12 months, depending on the how dangerous the environment is. If you have it every 6 months, that will hopefully ensure that people actually are doing it every 12 months and then not just putting it off or getting missed for that year or something like that. So that's my little SOP QR code YouTube video example there. I'm looking forward to using Asana more in future, and I'll maybe follow that up in a few months or maybe later this year. Okay, that's it for this video. Hopefully you found that useful. This should be particularly useful for anyone that is going from the hobby stage to having a small business, and this may be even useful for people that already are in the small business stage, because as I said before, a lot of small businesses seem to not really embrace the documentation to the level that I believe is worth it. So thanks for watching. If you found this useful or entertaining, please consider subscribing and leave a comment below if you have any thoughts about what I've done with my documentation in this, or if you found it helpful. Alright, catch you in the next video. Cheers, bye.